I get a lot of questions asking how do I print waterproof on watercolor paper, and I have made a video before, but that was kind of in the middle of a vlog, which when I think about it now is a bit random. So in this video I'm going to show you my own setup on how I print on watercolor paper with waterproof ink. And also, because I know the printer is a few years old, I'm pretty sure that's not on sale anymore. So I'm going to show you what kind of things you need to look for when you're looking for the right printer for yourself. I print waterproof on inkjet, and there's a reason for that, and I am aware that inkjets aren't waterproof normally, but you could print things laser and that will automatically be waterproof. But when I was doing my research on printing on watercolor paper, I read that, and this is like, I read this rather than I've experimented with this, because I didn't have a laser printer at the time, and those are really expensive commitment just to test something out. But there are some people that say the heat that the laser printer puts the paper through can ruin the sizing on a watercolor paper, so it's not really advisable to use laser. Now, if you have used a laser printer for your watercolor paper and it has been fine, please do let us know in the comments down below, because that would be a valuable resource. So this video is not going to be about how to print it on laser. This video is going to be about how to be able to print waterproof on watercolor paper using inkjet ink. Now, my printer that I use is, and I have to look at my notes on this, is an Epson WorkForce WF-7210, and that is an A3 printer. And it's not the printer per se that makes the printing waterproof, it's the ink. So as long as you can find a printer that uses a waterproof ink, then you can use any printer really. And the printer ink that I use is the Epson Alarm Clock. And the reason why they call it alarm clock is because they have alarm clocks in front panel of the thing, so that it's really easy for you to find rather than having to remember names. All the Epson cartridges come with random images that makes it easier for you to find, say in a shop, which I kind of like. But the important thing is you need a Durabrite Ultra Ink. That is the name of all the waterproof inks that Epson makes. Now, there are tons of these different images that are included in that Durabrite Ultra. I have researched and found as many of these icons as I could find, so I'm going to read it out to you, but there may be others. But what you're looking for is that Durabrite Ultra ink name. Right, so I'm going to read out the list to you. I have my notes here. It is the alarm clock, which is the one I have, golf ball, Stag, Pisa, that's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Big Ben, Apple, keyboard, Padlock, Suitcase, pen and crosswords, fox, Eiffel Tower, cheetah, and monkey. Those are the ones that I could find, but there may be others, so you might want to do your research, especially if you're watching this maybe a couple of years after I publish. There will be other kinds of Durabrite Ultra inks, so it is totally worth doing your research for it. Now, what you need to do is to research and find printers that are compatible with one of those. I know it's a lot of researching to do, but you should be able to go onto the Epson website and they should be able to tell you, hey, these inks are compatible with these printers. I think the two main questions you have with searching for the right printer is, can it print waterproof, which it can as long as you pick the right one, but also, can it print on 300 GSM watercolor paper? I have to make a declaration here that I can only tell you what works for me. And for my one, the limit of how thick a piece of paper it could do was below that 300 GSM, but it was only slightly. I think it was like 280 or 290 GSM was the max it could handle. So I did take a gamble, and it was a gamble that could have gone wrong, but I thought, That's close enough. I'm going to give it a go because I really need to be able to print waterproof on watercolor paper, especially at 300 GSM. And I bought it and it did work for me. That does not mean that it's going to work for every printer, and it's not going to mean that it's going to work on every printer that says, oh, we can print up to about 290, 280. Please be aware that if you do buy a printer that says it can't handle 300 GSM, then you're going to be taking a gamble on whether that is going to work with 300 GSM or not. So now I'm going to show you my printer. So this is my Epson WorkForce. I keep calling it a workhorse because this printer really is a workhorse. I've had it 4 years now, and it's the core of my business. I can't do what I do without this printer. It is an A3 printer. Now, you don't need to get A3 printer. I just need A3 printer for my work because I do a lot of printing in A3 sizes to make dot cards and test sheets and things. So it is massive. It's absolutely huge. This is a wardrobe and it takes up quite a bit of space. But if you do an A4 printer, I'm sure you can find a much smaller printer. It does come with 2 cartridges, but I don't really use them because I use this mainly for printing on watercolor, and this is a stack of watercolor paper that I've cut last week ready to be printed in the next few months. I think this stack will last me about 3 months, and it's a whole pack of 125 sheets of imperial size watercolor sheets, and it'll be gone in 3 months. But this is a printer, and I'm going to show you what it's like while it's printing. I've just moved this stack of paper out the way for now. You do have to use the rear tray for this rather than use the cartridges, which is good because it means the paper is going to get less bent when it comes out anyway. But you have to put 1 sheet at a time in. There's no way of stacking it. They say you can. I've tried so many times. I have never, ever succeeded in using this by putting several sheets in here at once. So just feed it one at a time. Now let's get printing. And that's it. That is a sheet of brush test printed, waterproof, and it's like printing normal printing really. And that's how I print all my sheets, dot cards, test cards, the swatch cards. That's how all of them gets printed. Now, I do have to give you one warning about the Durabrite Ultra Ink. It's brilliant, it's waterproof, but it does kind of push away the paint to begin with, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that here. So here I have a big band of black to test opacity, and you'll see, can you see that watercolor being pushed away from the strip? So what you will have to do if you're doing this as an opacity test is just go over it a few times, and then once you go over it a few times, the ink will stay on. That is one way to get around it if it's like an opacity test, when you can go over the line. But it might be a problem if, for example, you just have an outline and you want to paint up to it. You might need to print the line more like a faint line, like here. Then you don't get that same problem. So if you are going to use it as printing outlines for your painting, then don't print it at 100% black. Make sure you print out the lines that are a little bit more grayed out and therefore much lighter color. So that is how I print waterproof on watercolor paper. I hope it was useful to you. As I say, there's a lot of things to navigate and a lot of decisions you're going to have to make as to whether you want to gamble with your money, as to whether you can put a 300 GSM paper. If it's a 90 GSM paper, then that will be no problem. But if it's 300 GSM or 150, you're going to be gambling unless you can find a printer that can handle that for sure. I hope this video was useful to you, and I do have a lot of template blank test sheets and swatch sheets that you can download from over on my Patreon and use it with this way of printing on waterproof paper, and then you'll be able to test all your watercolors and be able to print out your test sheets at home. So I hope this was useful to you, and of course you can also use this for so many other things like printing your outline of your painting so that you can just do the same shape or sketch over and over again. It's also a great way if you want to test your colors quickly but you don't want to keep doing the outlines. It has so many uses, so if this interests you, then it's totally worth having a look into. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will try to leave links down below to where you can get these inks, at least, because printers come and go as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!